Yearbook of Austria, 1920, from official sources. Excerpt. Published by the Ritz Art and Import Company, New York. Elementary and hygienic situation of the youth. The long war, and more than the war, the consequences of the great struggle, had a pernicious influence on the elementary and sanitary conditions of the youth. The children having been reared during the war are, generally speaking, visibly deficient in bodily strength, tallness, and weight. Rickets have enormously increased and materially contributed to the rise of the juvenile death rate. The Austrian youths have been in recent times often examined by medical men in the course of the general works of charity, especially in view of the distribution of meals, and the returns of these inspections have been minutely registered. The census of nursing mothers and suckling babies is entrusted to the maternity offices. The schoolboys and girls have been repeatedly examined by the official school physicians responsible for the medical supervision of public schools, as well as by physicians appointed by private charitable institutions and by physicians in the service of the numerous foreign organizations for Austria's help. The children above 14 of age have been examined in the higher schools and art and craft schools by the physicians of the educational staff, many of these juveniles also by physicians in foreign services. The mothers, not being able to buy artificial or ready-made foodstuffs, nurse the babies at the breast as long as possible, 6 months, nay 9 or 12 months. The sanitary conditions of these babies is therefore quite satisfactory. But the sanitary condition of the little children from 1 to 6 years of age is extremely bad, almost everything wanting or being too expensive such a child is in need of after the suckling period. In the open country, conditions are somewhat better, but much the worse in industrial centers, above all in Vienna. In spite of the humanitarian work of the Society of Friends for the Rescue of Little Children, the returns of the medical examinations made in the beginning of the winter 1920 were most unsatisfactory. 85,000 boys and girls were examined. 10% only were returned in the class good, 90% as shattered in their physical strength, 18% of those boys and girls were returned as sick, thereof 5% suffering from chronic diseases, condemned to a lifelong sickness. Also the dwellings of those ill-fed children were visited. 42% of these dwellings are unfit, dark, ill-aerated, damp or crowded, 47% thereof not containing birth accommodation for the children. The number of underfed boys and girls is as equally high in the so-called middle classes, living on fixed salaries or occupied in free vocations, as in the industrial working classes. Even in the classes of commercial and industrial employers, the elementary conditions are not much better. Out of 50,000 children of less of 6 years of age under medical inspection, 33% suffer from rickets, 14% from anemia. The comparatively small figures of tuberculosis is due to the fact that only ambulant children were returned, children in bed not being included in the census. Detailed particulars have been obtained for the elementary conditions of the Vienna school-going youths from 6 to 14 years of age. About 130,000 girls and boys have been examined in Vienna, 90,000 in Lower Austria. In spite of the magnificent help from foreign countries, the alimentation of this class of youth is highly deficient. Only 28% of all these boys and girls were classified as good and middling, 72% as bad and very bad. The beneficial influence of foreign help is clearly shown by the fact that girls, largely favored by foreign families and other benefactors, and staying much longer time in foreign countries, have a comparatively very large share in the good and middling classification. 44% of all boys under medical inspection were returned as very bad, against 38% of girls. The classification bad was returned for 33% of boys and 28% of girls, good for 7% of boys and 14% of girls. About 85,000 examined schoolboys and girls were returned very bad, 65,000 bad, against 20,000, 10% good. The classification had been established on the basis of exhaustive and minute measurements and weighing. Medical assistance for the youth. The unhappy state of things appealed to an effective organization of official elementary and medical help for the children. An exhaustive scheme for assistance was drafted. The existing charitable organizations incorporated in the official work, and the private institutions largely provided by the state with victuals, fuel, and money in the measure of available means. In several larger towns, children's assistance boards were founded. In all provinces a provincial children's assistance board is working. In Vienna, the works of private charity are amalgamated into two great corporations, the League of Voluntary Children's Assistance and the Caritas. The Supreme Board for all matters concerning infantile and children's assistance is incorporated in the Ministry for Social Administration. The inland children's assistance is divided in the following branches. First, food help for nursing mothers and suckling babies. Second, assistance for homes, asylums, and similar institutions for abnormal, crippled, tuberculous, and rickety children. Third, distribution of meals for children, monetary assistance for working expenditure. Fourth, holiday organizations. Fifth, collecting office. All nursing mothers and suckling babies are officially entitled to receive state subsidies. The number of babies assisted by these subsidies in form of foodstuff were 194,034, only in towns and industrial centers, but excluding Vienna. Austria enjoys a very large number of private institutions of every description for assistance to children. In the first instance, the orphanages, orphan asylums, and homes are to be mentioned, numbering in all 120. Furthermore, 50 educational institutions and about 80 infant homes and asylums. For suckling babies and little children, about 200 creches and children's homes, the same number of kindergartens, 200 daytime shelters for school children, 20 apprentices' homes, and 100 evening homes for girls and boys employed in industrial or commercial work. A certain number of holiday institutions, especially for children engaged in business, have been transformed lately in standing country homes. This most beneficial progress was obtainable only by the means of foreign help. Also disabled and crippled children are provided for by some deaf, dumb, and blind children's homes, lately also by the foundation of a kindergarten and a home for deaf, dumb, blind children. The sanatorium for tuberculous children in Vienna, called Spinnerin am Kreuz, 400 beds, has enjoyed the special care of private benefactors. Thanks to the munificence of the Swedish Red Cross, this institution has lately very effectively developed its activity. Another institution, virtually a daytime home for 100 tuberculous children, yielded similar good results, also thanks to foreign help, Society of Friends, League of American and of Danish Women. In the same manner, the sanatorium of Grimmenstein, 400 beds for children suffering from tuberculous osteomalacia, is kept in working order by the Swedish Red Cross. The Vienna school children have been afforded with a holiday stay in the country. With the help of the Youth Assistance Board and private charity, most of them were enabled to sojourn 6 or 8 weeks in a holiday colony or special homes. a considerable number of children were sheltered by farmers against a slight allowance. In all, about 50,000 Viennese children spent a holiday in Austria. A Christmas collection organized by the Minister of Social Administration and devoted to the assistance of the youth had yielded many millions of kronen. A similar enterprise made by the Society of Friends had also resulted in a very large sum of money. In spite of all these exertions, neither the assistance of the state and the municipality of Vienna nor private charity can possibly triumph over the steadily increasing misery in this battle to provide the strict necessary amount of food and to rescue the youth from sickness and death. But the early succor from abroad, beginning already in autumn 1918 and concentrating all its efforts to the salvation of the youth, was the greatest blessing in this terrible struggle. The effectual work of the foreign committees in favor of the Austrian institutions of assistance for the youth is divided as follows. First, help for the preschool age. Second, help for schoolboys and girls by sending them in foreign country during the holidays, by distribution of meals, clothes, linen, footgear, and victuals. The two last-named actions extend the help also to juveniles. Suckling babies and little children, till 6 years of age, are under the special care of the Society of Friends, whose action had begun with the guidance of the director of the State Maternity Office and extended its beneficial influence in ever-increasing proportions. The census of suckling babies and little children is carried through by the maternity offices, having been in existence before the breakdown of the empire, and multiplied since. The total number of such offices stand now at about 350, whereof in Vienna 42, in Lower Austria without Vienna 173. The suckling babies, since lately also the little children, are weighed once in every week in the maternity offices, are maintained under careful medical control, and are provided, against a little contribution by the parents, with certain foodstuffs indispensable for the rearing of a baby, e.g. groat, cocoa, preserved milk, or fresh milk, only for sick babies. There the babies are also provided with baby's linen and clothes. The British Vienna Emergency Relief Fund had aimed especially the reform of the boarding system for children. To this effect, a large sum of money had been delivered by this fund to grant the boarding persons higher allowances for the pupils. Hospitals habitually sent their convalescent children in boarding houses in the country in order to have at their command any available bed for children wanting immediate medical assistance. But perhaps the most touching example of international solidarity in distress and calamity is the widespread action of boarding Austrian children in foreign countries. During 1919, about 40,000 Austrian children enjoyed foreign hospitality. In the first place it was Switzerland, having sheltered, fed and clothed more than 20,000 children, Holland with almost 10,000. Other countries as Sweden, Denmark, Germany and Italy with the rest. During 1920, this work of charity developed enormously. In January, February and July, about 90,000 Austrian children stayed in foreign countries. Total number till today 124,000. Almost all of them in families. Switzerland and Holland go ahead also in 1920, followed by Denmark, Germany, Luxembourg, Sweden, Norway, Italy, Spain and Romania, Transylvania, finally England, Belgium and France. The average duration of a child's stay in foreign country was about 3 months, but in many cases, especially in Sweden, Norway and England, much longer, 6 to 12 months. Many children are urgently invited to a return in the next year. The recently dispatched railway trains contained many children going for the second time to their fosterers. Quite recently, also little children under 6 years of age are sent in foreign countries, and many orphans have been adopted there. In the average, after a stay of 2 months abroad, A sensible increase in weight has been ascertained. The average increase for such a time is about 3 to 4 kilograms, in certain cases till 5 and 6 kilograms. After a stay of 4 to 5 months, certain children had gained 10 to 16 kilograms in weight, but all return home, bodily and mentally restored and invigorated. A great number of foreign fosterers are in the habit of sending regularly food supplies to the departed darlings, or remit them money orders enabling them to buy the necessary victuals. Many of the children are coming back richly provided with linen and clothes. Others are helped by parcels of such articles regularly sent to them. Not only these advantaged children, but many others are provided with victuals, shoes, and clothes by foreign charitable institutions. Above all, the Society of Friends, under the leadership of Dr. Clark, must be mentioned. They take care in the first instance for pregnant and nursing women, for suckling babies and little children. In the second line, the Swiss Committee, the Danish Women's Ring, and the American Help for Children. The dollar parcels containing victuals of the said American Help are distributed to hospitals, asylums, convalescent homes, and similar charitable institutions. Another work, destined to distribute food, had been organized by British initiative. At Christmas, the foreign works distributed large quantities of clothes, shoes, and victuals. Quite recently, the foreign help had shaped in the form of assuming the management of a certain given Austrian institution, exhausted of all monetary means due to the general impoverishment. In this manner, the Swedish Red Cross manages the Vienna Hospital for Tuberculous Children, Spinnerin am Kreuz, the Dutch Children's Committee, the home at Neulengbach for juvenile girls, and, during the summer holidays, the Students' Home at St. Wolfgangsee. The Dutch Huisvestings Committee maintains in Vienna and at Göllersdorf a children's home. A New York German-American Committee for Help manages the convalescent home for rickety children at Tivoli, near Vienna. Another New York committee, Vienna Milk Relief, inaugurated lately a home in the barracks of the War Hospital Grinzing in Vienna. The schoolboys and girls suffering doubly, being ill-fed and therefore improper to fulfill the claims of the schools, have been particularly helped by the distribution of meals organized by the American Help for Children. This magnificent action, inaugurated 2 years ago in the then existing popular kitchens in Vienna, had been extended in such a manner as to distribute now 300,000 daily rations, representing a monetary value of 4,500,000 kronen a day. Of this figure, 151,000 rations are distributed in Vienna, 45,000 in Lower Austria, 13,000 in Salzburg, 12,000 in Tyrol, 5,000 in Vorarlberg, 36,000 in Styria, and 11,000 in Carinthia. Also apprentices in Vienna, almost 14,000 rations, are now included in this work. The selection is operated by an exhaustive medical examination. Only underfed or suffering children are entitled to enjoy the distributions. Swedish, Norwegian, and Dutch works are concerned in the distribution of meals for about 20,000 juveniles. End of Yearbook of Austria, 1920, from Official Sources. Excerpt.